Well, the full calendar year for LoL Esports in 2026 is now wrapped up. T1 takes home the Kespa Cup trophy, and we have no more tournaments, nothing left until next year, at least excluding the LPL Demacia Cup, which I actually think happens in January. I don't know when the Demacia Cup happens. I don't really pay attention to China, sorry. But it basically means that we have little over a month now until we see competitive League of Legends officially hit the Rift again. So to tie a bow on this year, I wanted to ask all of your thoughts and do one final, I don't want to overreact, but to see where community opinions and perspectives lie heading into next year. Because obviously, I'll have my own takes on things, but your opinions and your thoughts are important too, and helps me kind of keep a pulse on where everybody else is feeling separate from my own. So let's get right into it. We've got 2 text responses, 2 video responses. I always put out the tweet asking for people to send their videos up to 90 seconds long. I would just say follow me on Twitter, follow me across other socials, because I need to be able to rip the videos from Twitter, and this is the best place to do it, or even TikTok. People can submit them via TikTok. I did mention that this morning. But for YouTube, I don't have a good way for you guys to submit your videos on this, so you just got to follow elsewhere, sorry. Starting off with Charmweaver, who says, I don't want to overreact, but Kespa has proven just how dangerous Peyz on T1 really is. Guma is good, don't get me wrong, but it now feels like at the drop of a hat, any single position from T1 can just hyper carry. Faker might finally be the worst player on the team. Here's a hot take. Faker's been the worst player on the team for about 3 years now. That doesn't diminish what he's able to do, because I think Faker is the best in-game leader that League of Legends has ever seen. His ability to corral the troops and make sure that everybody's doing the appropriate thing while making sure that everybody clicks and exceeds at the right time is an unbelievable strength. Now, will that make him a great coach later in time? Maybe. Like at the minimum, we know it's great in game. I'm assuming that will translate out of game as well, but only time will tell after he retires. But we obviously, due to his contract, are a very long way away from that ever happening. And let's be fair, Kespa Cup, obviously not the most important tournament in the world, but it's not like this first place matchup between Hammerify and T1 wasn't either of them at full strength. It was. Now, was it off season? Yes. Is the game going to look entirely different next year compared to what it is now? Yes, 100%. But I do agree with the take. I think T1 with Peyz, honestly, is very scary. A lot more scary than T1 was this year for the majority of the year, obviously, until Worlds. And the thing with T1 is that you always look at them and be like, okay, so we know they're going to turn it on in October, but what happens if they're good besides that? Like, that's something that we haven't seen. Gen G's just steamrolled everybody prior to this point. And now it like legitimately feels like T1 could contend in the regular season, and just feels like this might be the clicking formula that allows them to maybe win another LCK title. But they're shoo-ins to be the favorite at Worlds next year, assuming they make it. What I hope in all this is that I hope that Hammerify steps up. I want Hammerify to be at the same level as Gen G and T1 and not falter down the stretch. I want to see what feels like the top 3 teams like legitimately taking different series off of each other at various different times, especially in playoffs, because I feel like even though we do see that occasionally during the regular season, come playoffs, it's a very strict formula. Hammerify wins at the beginning because it's all hands, then Gen G eventually takes over, wins the entire domestic split from there, and then T1 comes in at Worlds and cleans house. Like, that's been how it goes. I want to see these 3 battle each other and trade it a little bit more, because I think that makes it more entertaining and you just don't quite know who's going to win. But it's the default assumption that at least whenever it matters domestically, Gen G is going to be the one to get it done. Time will tell. Maybe Guma changes Hammerify. Maybe Gen G actually like has that psychological coach that's able to help them out and get them over the hump. I just want to see it be competitive, because I don't want next year to be a carbon copy repeat of what 2025 and kind of 2024 were. I'm worried that we're falling into a pattern here. Oh God, LCS Eevee said, I don't want to overreact, but I think what team ShyKnock chooses to become a fan of is the most important move of the offseason. First and foremost, no. If we're talking LoL Esports, no in any way, shape, like, come on. Let's be real here. I don't think there were any major blockbuster moves other than Quig going to Team Liquid. Like, that's the only one that I can think of in my head that like really stands out as like the move, maybe Inspired to Lion, but I don't feel like that had as much hype as when people were excited that Inspired could go to Team Liquid. That felt a little bit more. APA going to C9 was fun, but it was kind of out of necessity because Loki moved on. Like, I don't know. But I also don't want to overhype my value because let's be real here about me. Like, while I, by all means, am going to provide a megaphone for whatever fandom that is going to end up being, it's not like I drive a ton of value. Like, I went back and looked at the growth between what was TLC, like the original 100 Thieves series that I did back in 2023 whenever I kicked all this off on YouTube, and really started embracing the team fandom side more rather than just like talking about everything on TikTok. You compare that to where it grew to last year with the Rendezvous. By all means, like, the growth was nice, but I'm still struggling to hit 1,000 viewers on those videos. So like, it is very much still like a small pocket rather than anything I would say like substantial or massive. Now, there are going to be people that would make the argument, oh, well, you did that without 100 Thieves really helping you in any way, shape, or form. Sure, not going to disagree with that in any way, shape, or form. Trust me, the two Team Liquid videos that I saw that I posted got posted to their subreddit. I know anytime I talk about C9, it's gotten posted to their Discord. The fandoms there are a little bit larger naturally, so they do boost the numbers a little bit. So there is juice to be had, and honestly, I'll give you an update on where I'm at right now because this will be probably the last time I talk about it until the week before LCS kicks off and I give a formal update. I'm still pretty much right where I was before with like the core 3 or 4 being there with Team Liquid, FlyQuest, Sentinels, and C9. C9, I just respect thing because they're doing everything right that I want to see done, but it's still C9. I mean, it is what it is. The one that honestly has been gaining a lot of momentum over the last week for me, which is why I held off on any of this, was Sentinels. I really liked what they did with that Golden Glow video. And obviously, one video is not going to be enough to sway me to your side. But I like what they're doing with their content and the offseason and the moves that they're making already. That is a very good footprint for me. The comment section of that video seemed really excited. People genuinely are hyped in a way that, like, for an Optic fan who came from an FPS game to League of Legends and likes that style of banter, I know that Sentinels get it like that. The money part still is very much a concern for me with Sentinels. Like, they have not talked about their finances at all, which is a little bit interesting to me because, again, it wasn't all that long ago that they were asking people for money and were nearly bankrupt. So, like, I'm trying not to have that happen again. But, like, the writing on the wall with Sentinels is pretty good right now. Like, the early steps that they are taking, even if their roster isn't ultimately going to be top 3 in the league. I mean, maybe they'll surprise anybody, but I don't know. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to what I see on the Rift. Like, that LCS lock-in tournament, that first split is going to be so important for me to really feel like, hey, who am I most wanting to go to, like, Reddit and Discord and, like, come here and record a video? Who do I want to get on camera and just not shut up about because I can't get them out of my mind? That's the immediate thing that comes to me. So that's pretty much where I'm at with things. No, I am not the most important move of the offseason. That's cap. I appreciate the nod, but that's cap. All right, Hammerify, what take do you got for me?
I don't want to overreact, but I believe the current offseason PBE has shown us Season 16 Winter Split is going to be a bigger shit show than Season 15 Winter Split with its lane swap meta. The current issues right now, top laners get out of control at 11 minutes in when they get their massive EXP boost by completing their quest. ADC is spoon-fed and spikes harder than ever. Mid lane's upgrade is such a joke that you are likely to start seeing the revival of support mid laners that sack their waves to the ADC player who now gets double gold. Junglers are nerfed more than ever due to minions and camps spawning sooner. Their upgrade is extremely bad, and the Phaelites destroy ganking. So now we're going to just see power farming jungles such as Karthus and Nocturne, and the game is going to be in a terrible state for at least an entire split.
Interesting. So I have not played nor paid attention to any sort of PBE gameplay. Obviously, I pay attention to what's going on in terms of reading the patch notes for people on TikTok and discussing the things that could happen. But I take a personal break from League of Legends for an entire month in December and don't touch the game until the new year. So look, a lot of the things that I understand are broken right now, we still do have this time on PBE for them to correct a little bit. The mechanics of this, obviously, are still going to remain in play, but they can obviously nerf the amount of Phaelites that are on the map. You can change how quickly the gold is accumulated for ADCs after the quest. You can nerf the experience differential for top laners as they complete their quest post 11. Like, there are a bunch of different things that can happen here that you can tweak to find the right balance. And personally, especially at the beginning of the year, I like things being drastically different than the year before. Like, even though there will be some through lines and some continuity, I mean, the game doesn't change all that much at the end of the day. I do like it being mixed up a bit. So I don't mind like split one, not necessarily being a shit show. Like, because the thing is, I think like a shit show is very relative to what people want it to be. Just because it doesn't look like before doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It can be entirely entertaining. It can be a much better version of the game that we're seeing because Otacon's gone. There's no more throws at 20 minutes whenever Otacon spawns. Like, the dynamic and the flow of the game might be different, but it could be a good different. I also just genuinely don't trust solo queue data as any sort of indication for how pro play specifically is going to go. The point about supportive mid laners, though, I think is a really interesting one because I've seen a lot of people talking about like, okay, well, what about like marksmen are trying to use the top lane or the ADC quest to then slot those elsewhere, like use those buffs in other way, shapes, or form. But it's clear that they're going to be challenges that are specifically isolated to the roles that they are taking up. So with that gone, I could see the adaptation where it is back to more of a supportive mid laner style, which is really interesting when you take into account how good the ADC meta is, or at least the ADCs are across the world right now. I personally think that's fun. I think top lane is one where we haven't seen like top lane be like the carry role for a bit now. It feels like it's been since probably 2022, 2023, where it was like, yeah, top can just like a good top can entirely win you a series. Like, simple as that. Obviously, they want it to be more about a team game, so there is a balance to be had there. But I like the idea of having players in different roles that you can just invest unlimited resources in. I'm curious to see if you can do that at all with mid lane, and maybe that does change the dynamic a little bit too much, that they could revert back. But honestly, like, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I really just don't. I don't think it's going to be a shit show. I just think it's going to be entirely entertaining, and it's fun to figure out new puzzles each and every year, personally. Others might disagree, but that's my thoughts on it. And finally, we got Khan. What do you got for me, man?
I don't want to overreact but I think 2025 will be seen as either the beginning of the resurgence or the beginning of the end of LoL esports as a big global scene.
Sitting on the fence there.
You had 3 Korean teams win every international tournament. You had the whole fiasco of the LTA and the what seems like impending doom of popularity in China with the LPL, having a brand new system, giving signs that maybe the scene is about ready to take a downturn and kind of fall apart from a global scene and kind of become a one country style powerhouse. But also it's going to be seen as a potential resurgence with things like the huge success of MSI and Worlds for fans and viewership, the absolute W that is road shows that happened both in Korea and in Europe this year, and what seemingly is a more engaging with fan bases in certain regions. It'll be interesting to see how we move on from this year, because I feel like we have 2 breaking points. We're either going to keep going down with some of the bad stuff that has plagued other regions, or we're going to learn from some of the positives and bring this scene back together. But either way, 2025 is going to be the pivotal year where we look back and say, that is when things started going downhill quick, or that is when things turned around and helped make this esport great again.
I 100% agree. I think of it slightly different, though. Not necessarily a fence that the whole scene is going to go one way or the other, but rather I view it as a train. Okay, there has been a train that we were building for a little bit that finally left the station, or is like starting to leave the station in 2025. The road shows. some of the changes that we're seeing to Worlds and MSI. Like, MSI was in North America, but the viewership still did very, very well. Like, I want people to understand how popular these international events are. The LCK seeing record viewership right now. Like, interest in esports and league esports as a whole is still very much there, even if the player base might not be growing. China, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm so removed from China that it's like, oh, is it scary if China does start to shrink and the mobile games take over? Yeah, but like, what the fuck are we gonna do about China? Like, there's nothing you can do. It's not saying you don't write them off, but I'm saying, like, I'm worried about problems that we personally can have our hand in solving, and we have no hand in China in any way, shape, or form. The thing I would say is where I think the problems lie, or at least the worry of problems lie, is that as this train's leaving the station, where it is clearly like grassroots, community driven, that return kinda ish to what made esports what it was, but even more localized and taking more of a traditional sports route, if we're being entirely honest, rather than purely like K-pop or old, like, or modern esports standards under the VC capital era. If you don't hop on that train, you will be left behind and possibly crumble and die. And that's where I think the LCS specifically is at the most amount of risk. The LCP seems fine, but I don't know enough about their side of things that it's like there's clearly a winning formula to be had with these road trips and with constantly activating with your fans and like building up to these in-person moments that you can tie a cultural and brand identity around that North America has not figured out in any way, shape, or form. And I do worry about the future of North America, but not the future of LoL Esports. LoL Esports, I think, is in a very good spot. It's just like, what will all this look like in 5 years? I agree that I think this will be the pivotal year that we look back and be like, yeah, this was the kind of cultural reset button that we needed. And the question is, does everybody get the memo and act accordingly? If not, you might be set to crumble and slowly fade away, or just never reach the relevancy and you just miss this wave. And now you have to wait for the next one to come. And you have to figure out what the wave is and cause the wave before anybody else, because that's the other part of this is like, sure, you can ride onto the coattails of this and possibly make it work. But like, if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. I know teams are stubborn. Legal departments are slow. There's a billion excuses as to why people can't. But yet somehow, those at the top and those that are causing these waves find a way to get it done. So there's really no excuse. So the train's leaving the station. Whether every other org and every other region wants to get on board, we'll see. Time will tell. But I do think we're in a very healthy spot overall moving forward. I think that's kind of the perfect wrap up for this particular I Don't Want to Overreact, but it's been a pleasure doing this series in 2026 or 2025. I will do it again in 2026. But again, I know a lot of these, like, I try to space it out because it's not like I get the most amount of takes with these. If I had enough to the point where it warranted doing it every week and it wasn't like some of the same people having similar conversations, even though I love all the thoughts that people put out there. I appreciate you all calling in. From an entertainment point of view, I do need to make sure that it is fresh every single time that we do it. So we'll see how demand for this keeps going. Obviously, it'll be back before the LCS, or maybe honestly, it might save the first episode for after week 1 of games across all regions. But thank you all as always. If you haven't considered subscribing to the channel, be sure to do so. Drop a like. And if you haven't already raged at some of the takes or some of the responses down below in the comments, be sure to get your thoughts in. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.